Nick Caserio says, don't worry, be happy when it comes to the offensive line. D'Amico Ryans offers a bit better explanation of the future of the position. I might just worry a little too much about the big fellas up front, and the NFL is not going to screw the Houston Texans. We'll talk about all of that and more. Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. Let's start with the conversation about the offensive line. I mean, look, the offensive line is going to be a conversation point until, I don't know, they prove that they're the Great Wall of Houston and they keep CJ Stroud upright in 2025. Only one team allowed more sacks than the Houston Texans last year. That was the Chicago Bears. They allowed 12 more than the 52 that the Texans allowed. Only 4 teams allowed more quarterback pressures than the Houston Texans, quarterback pressure percentage than the Houston Texans. The Patriots, the Titans, the Bears, and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings and the Bears, they're important for a little bit later on. But let's talk about this offensive line. This was a offensive line that was the reason the offense was disappointing in 2024. They were not good and did not achieve what they wanted to achieve in 2024 because the offensive line played poorly. Now, what led to the offensive line playing poorly? It's a variety of things. They weren't the talented group. They weren't the cohesive group. The offense itself, how it was organized, schemed up, it stunk. There are a lot of things, but the O-line wasn't good enough in 2024. And it prevented them from going where they wanted to go in 2024. So going into 2025, it should have been a thing that is much less worrisome. Unfortunately, I feel like the biggest worry about the Houston Texans is indeed their offensive line. And the general manager, Nick Caserio, doesn't seem to be too worried about it. State of the Texans is a fan event. They have fans together. They get to ask the Texans brass, D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio, questions. And when asked about the offensive line, why there wasn't more significant investment in the offensive line, Nick Caserio, all is well. Nothing to worry about when it comes to the offensive line.
We try to move up and down the board. Sometimes there's a trade partner that works itself out. Sometimes there isn't. So the way it worked itself out, we ended up moving out at 25. We picked Jaden at 34, and then we picked Ursary at 48 or 49, who was one of the top-ranked tackles in the draft that we liked. So, again, it's never about one pick. It's never about one player. I think the offensive line in and of itself is about 5 guys playing as one. So, again, I would say for D'Amico and I, we're not concerned about it. So if we're not concerned about it, you guys certainly shouldn't be concerned about it either.
He's not concerned about it. D'Amico Ryans is not concerned about it. You shouldn't be concerned about it. Well, I'm concerned about it. I'm worried about it. I'm worried that the offensive line that allowed the second most sacks in football last year and allowed the 5th worst pressure rate in all of football last year didn't get any better. They did not make significant talent improvements to the offensive line. Now, am I going to sit here and tell you that I feel like they are drastically worse as a talent group? No, but they didn't make significant improvements. The best offensive lineman on the team, Laramie Tunsil, he's out the door. Kenyon Green, Shaq Mason, didn't love watching them play football. See you later. Guys they brought in, Cam Robinson, Ed Ingram, Laken Tomlinson, solid enough players, but not super impressive. I would feel much better about this offensive line if the Texans had overpaid a player or two along the offensive line. If they had made a significant investment in the offensive line. They spent about $20 million and a second-round pick on their offensive line. That's about what they spent. $12 million on Cam Robinson and about $8 million or so combined between Laken Tomlinson and the addition of Ed Ingram via trade. And then they drafted Ariante Ursary in the second round. That's it. That's their investment in the offensive line. Is that enough? That doesn't feel like enough. And by the way, they added a couple of tackles, Cam Robinson, Ariante Ursary, and they only added a guard who got benched in Minnesota and Ed Ingram, and a guard who has started consistently for 4 or 5 years but hasn't been good for 2 or 3 years in Laken Tomlinson. Where's the investment in the interior offensive line for this Texans team. Why should fans feel fine when the overall talent got worse on the offensive line? The investments that they made on the offensive line are uninspiring. And they went and spent money in other areas that don't help the offensive line, that they didn't have to spend that money in 2025. I know it's expensive to go out there and get offensive linemen. I'm aware of that fact. It is not a cheap area of free agency to wade into. But my goodness, they could have done something more impressive than the $20 million total across 3 players, 2 of them who were okay on their best day at their position. And I mentioned the Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings. You know what they did? Totally revamped their interior offensive lines. Total, wholesale changes on the interior offensive lines of the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. The Bears, who gave up more sacks than the Texans last year, and the Vikings, who gave up a more consistent rate of pressure than the Houston Texans last year. Wholesale, brand new changes on the interior offensive line. And they're players you've heard of. Joe Thuney, former Kansas City Chief left guard, now the left guard in Chicago. You know what Thuney did last year? Gave up 0 sacks. Okay, had 2 penalties. Or gave up 2 sacks and had 0 penalties, whatever it is. Played 17 games, Mr. Consistency. Texans brass, or Texans decision makers and Texas coaches had him in New England. Nick Caley and Cole Popovich coached in New England, and Nick Caserio was there in New England when Thuney was a 3rd-round pick. They trusted him with protecting Tom Brady. He got traded for a 4th-round pick, and then they gave him a new contract, $17.5 million a year. He's worth it. He's really good. And he plays in the interior offensive line. Bears also traded for Jonah Jackson. Solid player last year. Yeah, they paid him a bunch of money after they traded for him. Solid player. They signed Drew Dahlman, top center in free agency. I mean, look at these investments. Bad offensive lines in 2024 and their 2025 investments. The Texans added Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, and Ed Ingram. Combined, they gave up 19 sacks last year. Combined, they had 16 penalties last year. You know what Chicago did? A worse offensive line. They went out there and got 3 guys that combined gave up 4 sacks and committed 3 penalties. You know what Minnesota did? They went out there and they got guys that are good football players that you know are expensive but are seemingly at least worth the money. Laken Tomlinson cost $4.25 million because Laken Tomlinson hasn't been very good at football. Ed Ingram is on the final year of his rookie deal after getting benched mid-year by the Minnesota Vikings last year because he's not very good at football. Cam Robinson, a career high of 8 sacks allowed last year, is available for 1 year and $12 million because he's not very good at football. And I know Robinson at left tackle is very different than Thuney and Dahlman and Jackson at interior offensive line. But Morgan Moses, who is a solid football player, who costs way less than Cam Robinson, can play right tackle, and you can play Blake Fisher at left tackle. He signed with the New England Patriots, who had a crappy offensive line last year. Even Kevin Zeitler signed with Tennessee this offseason. He was awesome last year. He cost $9 million. He's one of the best right guards in football last year. So the investments that they made did not instill confidence. If Nick Caserio wanted to go up to that podium at the State of the Texans in front of all those Texans fans and say, you don't need to be worried about the offensive line. We made significant investments in the offensive line. And they'd signed Drew Dahlman and traded for Joe Thuney and signed Kevin Zeitler, I'd shut my damn mouth. I wouldn't say anything. I wouldn't be beside myself worrying about the ability to operate as a team because the offensive line isn't good enough. But they didn't make significant investments. The Bears spent $50 million a year on average annual value on their offensive line. The Texans spent $20 million on their offensive line. Hell, they only spent $70 million in free agency as a whole. Total, everything that they added, $70 million. The Bears spent $50 million on their offensive line alone. And don't tell me you don't have the money. I get that Shaq Mason's contract sucks and you're still dealing with it. And I get the Laramie Tunsil's dead money, and I get Titus Howard and his bad contract that's on the team. I get that. I understand that. The Eagles pay everybody, and they kick the money down the road because they want to win now. I don't know why the Texans didn't do the same thing on the offensive line. They've got a win now defense. They've got a probable Super Bowl caliber defense. They've got one of the best young quarterbacks in all of football who needs an offensive line to play better than it did last year, to grow, to hopefully be worth his $285 million contract that he's going to sign next year. They've got depth at wide receiver. They've got a top 10 running back. And they don't have a playoff caliber offensive line. But the general manager says, don't worry, everything's fine. I'm not worried, and you shouldn't be worried either. If he just said, I'm not worried about the offensive line, I don't know that I would have had this reaction, but you shouldn't worry either. Nick Caserio, you built this offensive line. You know what you built before this? The offensive line that was a disaster the previous year. They do not earn the benefit of the doubt for offensive linemen anytime soon. They do not deserve the benefit of the doubt for offensive linemen. And worry is very valid because they finished 2024 with the offensive line being the biggest question mark on this franchise. And they start the 2025 season with the offensive line a total unknown. That is a situation where you should worry for this Houston Texans team. But maybe I worry a little too much. And D'Amico Ryans did say something that calmed me down a little bit. We'll talk about that here in a moment. I want to get to some of your comments, your questions, your joys, and concerns. Good to see you, Pandaline. Patrick, appreciate you. Noah, good to see you. Let's go H-Town. He's very, very worried, as you should be. Adrian, Texans never had an O-line for some reason. They can't get it right. No, it's eluded this franchise except for like 4 years. It's been like 4 years they've had like decent offensive line play. They really must believe in the new coaching and the scheme. We'll talk about that in a moment. Saeed, they did the best they could have with the O-line. I think after next season they get rid of Titus and are examining how the rest of the guys do and who they need to replace. By the way, if they had a bunch of talent on this offensive line that I felt like, oh, man, that guy was just banged up last year, like he'll be way better this year, or, oh, there's some growth to it. But Jared Patterson's kind of a one-dimensional player. Juice Scruggs has not had a consistent starting position for this team basically at any point due to injuries or poor play. Remember, he got benched for Shaq Mason last year. And I like Blake Fisher's potential, but potential doesn't get anybody blocked. So it's a little worrisome. Good to see you, my friend HDAV Traveler. Appreciate you for the super chat. It is greatly appreciated. You're very generous, and good to see you in the chat. Texas Speed, he's a member of the channel. He says, Cody, good to see you, Speed. Christopher, I love that they don't reach for need, but positions for need players they prefer. Yeah, they don't. They needed interior. They preferred an exterior offensive lineman. There you go. Patrick makes the joke. How do they overpay for Jalen Petrie if they go out there and sign offensive linemen? It's a great question. It's a great question. Christopher likes the size of the offensive line. Let's see how many of them skip training camp to practice on their own, like Tunsil. Well, I mean, they didn't really get that much bigger on the interior because Jarrett Patterson or Juice Scruggs is still going to be your center. And then I would assume that Ed Ingram or one of those losers from the center battle is going to be your right guard, unless Titus is going to be a guard. But Titus isn't a good guard. 2 years ago, Nick Caserio said, well, Titus is a much better tackle than he is guard. And Titus didn't even factor in to the tackle equation this offseason. They did not even factor in Titus Howard at tackle because they added 3 tackles to this team. Cam Robinson, Trent Brown, and Ariante Ursary. So Titus Howard's not even a tackle option 2 years after Nick Caserio called him one of the most underrated tackles in football and said he was a much better tackle than he was guard. And he didn't even factor in to their tackle evaluation. So they had to go spend $12 million on Cam Robinson when they could have spent, I don't know, $12 million on an interior offensive lineman. The interior was the problem last year. The exterior, the tackles weren't the big problem. Noah says it's because of Ladarius Henderson, Cody. That's why they'll be fine. Boy, Ladarius Henderson. Didn't play football at all last year. Came off of 2 significant foot injuries here in this offseason. Ladarius Henderson. That's, decent answer. Yeah. And look, if Ladarius Henderson goes out there, gets everybody blocked, I'll shut my mouth. I'll say, well, boy, I was wrong for worrying about this stuff. Now, look, I may worry a little bit too much about this offensive line, but I got caught with my pants down last year. I believed too much in the offensive line, and that being the offensive line they wanted to put on the field ahead of 2023. They couldn't. Kenyon Green's injury, but they had everybody healthy. Kenyon Green was in good shape. Shaq Mason had come off a solid year. Titus was healthy, going to play his position. Juice was healthy, going to play his position. Like, I believed maybe too much in 2024, so I'm not getting burned here in 2025. I'm not going to sit here and under-worry about an offensive line that tanked the season for them last year, kept them from operating an offense last year. But they have laid out the path for getting out of this crappy offensive line situation. And most notably, they laid it out via DeMeco Ryans, the head coach at the same event that Nick Caserio spoke at. Again, thanks to Aaron Wilson for the audio here. He laid out the exact path on how they get out, and it's perhaps a reason why I worry a little bit less about the offensive line. Here's DeMeco Ryans to woosah, woosah. Put me at ease a little bit.
Nick has mentioned it, and it's what I truly believe in as well. It's the offensive line is about being a cohesive unit, right? It's about all those guys playing together, and it's not always about the offensive line as well. It's about, all right, the timing of the play, right? The depth, the timing of the play, the quarterback playing on time, running back stepping up and blocking, tight end blocking. It's 11 guys working together. And I know we may have had some miscues on the offensive line last year, right, that didn't look so well, but I feel like we're in a really good place with where we are now, and I'm excited to see this group go and perform together.
So DeMeco Ryans laid out the path to getting out of the dark place that is this offensive line underperforming in 2024. And it's something we've talked about at length here on the channel. They believe in these coaches that they added and changed out. Remember, the coaching staff did not drastically change ahead of 2025. Yes, they have a new offensive coordinator in Nick Caley, and they promoted Cole Popovich from assistant offensive line coach to head offensive line coach. But they did not make some sort of other drastic changes to the offensive staff. Kept the tight ends coach, kept the quarterbacks coach, kept the wide receivers coach. They changed over a few of the support roles, but for the most part, everybody kept their job except for Chris Strausser, the offensive line coach. See you later. And Bobby Slowick. See you later. So they've got a tremendous amount of faith in this offensive line, as they should, because the setup of the offense last year was bad. Bobby Slowick did a bad job. And if Bobby Slowick did such a bad job that it didn't matter how talented the team was, there's potential that doing a much better job with the offense with Nick Caley is something that could massively improve the offensive line failures that we saw last year. In addition to coaching, we also talk about Cole Popovich. Worth noting, the Patriots trusted him post Dante Scarnecchia, the legendary offensive line coach. Now, they trusted him to a smaller degree because he was a co-offensive line coach, but they trusted him after Dante Scarnecchia. So, and the Texans have praised Cole Popovich and said he had an opportunity to leave, but he didn't leave. He's a highly sought-after offensive line coach. So I get it. The coaching can certainly make it better. And it's not always the 5 guys alone. DeMeco Ryans mentioned the tight ends. Tight end blocking has got to get much better, from Dalton Schultz to Cade Stover to everybody else that blocks in the tight end spot. The running backs situation has to get better from a blocking standpoint. You can't just put Dare Gumbawale out there and let him throw his body into people. They've got to get better blocking out of the running backs when they're in there. Wide receivers helping on the blocking. But the totality of the offense being better, having a higher floor from a schematic standpoint, and putting a cohesive unit together, that's their path. That's what they've decided to do to get out of the bad offensive line game. They have decided to bet on cohesion and coaching instead of talent. And they would go ahead and tell you that the competition as well can help that cohesion and the coaching decide exactly who's going to block for CJ Stroud. Me, I would have bet on talent. I'd have been over here. I'd have spent a bunch of money on offensive linemen and had a little bit of peace of mind that I spent some money on some free agents that had some proven recent success. But the Texans, they're opting for competition, coaching, and cohesion to figure out their offensive line. Now, while that doesn't make me feel all warm and fuzzy inside, at least I understand their path out. They do have a plan. The plan was not talent. The plan was coaching, cohesion, and competition, the 3 C's. And, well, hopefully they score better on the offensive line than C. Or like I did at Texas Tech, D is for degree. So that's their path out of offensive line. I'd say mediocrity, but that'd be a poor way to explain it because they haven't even been mediocre on the offensive line. My God, if they were mediocre on the offensive line, who knows what they could have accomplished last year. A couple of super chats. AJ Birmingham, what's up, Cody? Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you, AJ. Thanks for popping in with the super chat. Don from New Jersey. Do we feel underappreciated? Diggs last year, team was clicking with him 4-1. When he went down, CJ loved him on 3rd down. Do they win 1 or 2 more football games with Stephon Diggs on the team last year? Yeah, I could see them flipping one of the KC games with Stephon Diggs. I could see them beating the Jets with Stephon Diggs. I mean, I would tell you that the depth of the offense or the depth of the wide receiver room was something that we lamented quite a bit throughout the course of not only the season as it got going, but also the offseason before they made their additions. Diggs goes down Sunday, October 27th against Indy. Do you beat New York with him? Maybe. Do you beat Detroit with him? I'd say probably. Do you beat Tennessee at home with him? Yeah, I would think you have a pretty good shot. Can you flip the KC game and maybe Tank Dell doesn't get hurt? Yeah. So of the losses that you had post-Diggs injury, you could make a solid argument that he could have flipped all those for the Texans. That's why they have Christian Kirk here now to be the wide receiver 2. And then they went and added 2 wide receivers that have stellar college football track records from an injury standpoint to back up 2 guys that frankly have a long injury history in Nico Collins and Christian Kirk. So yeah, a little bit of underappreciation for Stephon Diggs from last year. Senior Larry says numbers don't lie. CJ going to run for his life again. Jalen says CJ's cooked this season again. Patrick, I'm glad you brought this up. No getting caught with your pants down when you're wearing the perfect jean. It's good. You know what? I'll go ahead and do the ad right now since Patrick brought this up. Thanks for the assist here. Link in the description down below, the perfect jean. It's hard for me to find jeans. I'm a big guy. They're not always comfortable. Sometimes they're too heavy. They're not breathable. Not at the perfect jean. They are the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. They are breathable. They are lightweight. And oh my goodness, are they comfortable. They are the best pair of pants I have ever put on. I got a blue pair. I got a black pair. I'm getting me a gray pair, but I might get a different color blue pair as well. So many different kinds of fits, as you see here, athletic fit, which is what I use, but slim, thick fit, slim fit, boot cut fit. They've got something for everybody at the perfect jean. You're going to get 15% off. That's right. 15% off and free shipping and free exchanges. We use the link in the description down below. 15% off, free shipping and free exchanges when you visit the link in the description down below and visit with my friends at the Perfect Jean. Get you a pair of jeans that fit incredibly. And while nothing can beat the Houston Heat, these are the best jeans I've ever worn out in the heat. The Perfect Jean. The Perfect Jeans for me. You can find yourself the Perfect Jean at the Perfect Jean. Thanks for the assist there, Patrick. As Patrick notes, the defensive tackles look like world beaters in camp last year. And, well, we ultimately saw where the offensive line ended up. Nosh shows Kenya was a glorified bust. Shaq regressed out of nowhere. Let's not forget the 2 weak links are gone. Certainly. But the center position wasn't good, and they got rid of a consistent link in the left tackle. And I don't know about you, but I can't for sure tell you Blake Fisher's going to be any good. So they got a lot of questions, and I don't know that they have the answers, but they've certainly got multiple choice for a bunch of these answers. Texans tangents. What's the point of having one great lineman if they can't work together? This line has to be built. They certainly have to start from scratch and build this thing up, and that looks like what they're doing here. I mean, you could, in theory, have 4 new starters from the beginning of last year to the beginning of this year, and maybe 5 new starters if Patterson supplants Scruggs as the starter. AJ weighs in. The early schedule doesn't give much time for this line to develop either. Thrown into the fire week 1 against the Rams, the Verse and Fisk. Weaknesses will be exposed quickly. Yeah, no doubt. Oh, by the way, Tampa's nothing to sneeze about. They got Kalijah Cansey. They got Vita Vea. If you're not ready for Vita Vea, he can destroy a whole game plan for you. That's week 2 against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Week 3, they got some edge presence against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Week 5 against the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, we got 5 tough games to watch for the Houston Texans offensive line. Then there's a bye week. Perfect time to make some changes if you need to. Hope you don't have to, but you'll know everything you need to know about the 5 guys they run out there at the beginning by the bye week. And it was a great job by Patrick. Slim, thick Cody. One day trying to lose weight. Not doing a great job recently. Got to dial the diet in a little bit. Got to get out and move a little bit more. They passed the big boy test. It's perfect jean pants, man. They passed the big boy test. I'm never ripping the seat out of these jeans getting into my truck like I have basically every other pair of jeans. Okay? Say that. Claude says, interesting argument, scheme versus talent. I think it always comes down to talent. D'Amico is in a fantasy world. Yes, to an extent. I mean, I just look at the best offensive lines in football. They all got dudes. They all got really talented guys. And again, the Texans don't need to be the best. They don't need to be the Eagles next year. They don't need to be the Detroit Lions this upcoming season. They just have to be much better than they were last year. And if they are, they should see significant improvement. Small improvements for this offense should lead to big gains for the offense. It's not like they were amazing on the offensive line 2 years ago. If we just got, for this upcoming season, if we just got to watch C.J. Stroud play basically rookie level C.J. Stroud and the offensive line play basically the same as 2023, the Texans should be pretty damn good, especially with that defense. They had opportunities to add talent, and they went with scheme and fill-ins instead. And it's just a risky way to approach things. In a moment, I'll tell you why the NFL is ultimately not going to screw the Texans and the rest of the AFC South. Stingray asks, are we in a situation with Joe Mixon hurt and there's no running back depth? Nah, they don't have a number 1 fill-in if Joe Mixon's hurt. By the way, Aaron Wilson reporting Joe Mixon in a walking boot right now. So said he's going to miss some of the offseason activity. Brand new offense. Got to get Joe Mixon involved. That's not great. Puts him behind the 8 ball a little bit. He should catch up. Aaron says it's not going to be anything that could keep him from missing training camp likely. But, an injury now, all of a sudden working out, injury pops up, and you don't have anybody for Joe Mixon, you're in a little bit of trouble. By the way, Diet Mountain Dew went back to the vintage cans, or they changed their cans or something. I think they changed the flavor too. It's not the same. It's not the same. Yeah, life after Mixon is going to be scary. Talent without scheme gets you LT as a Pro Bowler on the 24 Texans offensive line. It's kind of a joke to me that he made the Pro Bowl. He's one of the best players in the worst offensive line in football. And that's kind of a joke to me that he got all those accolades he did. You might be right about this. I mean, look, they've tried the talent approach. I mean, Shaq Mason was the 13th highest paid guard in football. Titus Howard is one of the highest paid right tackles in football. Tunsil was their highest paid left tackle in football. Kenyon Green was a first rounder, and Drew Scruggs was a second rounder. They tried talent. Maybe the no-name approach, the no-name, no-face, Great Wall approach is what they need. Because the talent approach certainly didn't work out for them. Isaiah says, I believe the O-line will rank 21st this year, and I'll take that. I believe I'd sign up for 21st on the offensive line right now, too, if they were the 21st offensive line in football. They were the third or fourth worst last year. So the 30th best or 29th best offensive line. Now they're the 21st best. I mean, I think I'd sign up for that. All right, so the NFL is not going to pull a screw job on the AFC South. Washington Post Mark Maskey. It remains a long shot that NFL owners will ratify the Detroit Lions' proposal on a playoff reseeding when they vote on Wednesday. Source tells Maskey, I doubt it on that, not this year. If you're wondering exactly what I'm talking about, it is a playoff reseeding proposition from the Detroit Lions that would have teams that finish with more victories than division winners being seeded ahead of division winners, which, as you see in 2024, would have had the Houston Texans traveling to the Los Angeles Chargers, not the Chargers coming home or coming to Houston to play the Texans at home. The NFL kind of threw that out there. Albert Breer reported on it late last week. And then here we are a couple of days before the vote, a day before the vote. Doesn't seem likely to change. And really, this was about the AFC South and the NFC South. They were the most frequent offenders of having a low win total division winner hosting a game against a higher win total team. I wasn't totally in favor of the change, but I also wasn't totally against the change either. And so with that, I would say that they probably need to fine-tune this a little bit more and think about it a little bit more. Also worth noting, Mike Florio mentioned that the league office, through Roger Goodell into the league office to the Detroit Lions, sort of shoved the Lions forward and asked them to make the proposal versus another team. It didn't affect the Detroit Lions last year. But this is something that Goodell wants, and I have a hard time seeing him not eventually getting his way, but they're not getting it this year. So no screw job for the AFC South, where the Texans could win the division, be guaranteed a playoff spot, but not be guaranteed a home game. So that's that. Question and answer time. I'll answer some questions. We'll just hang out here a little bit, tell you a little bit about some of the stuff we got planned this week. Noah mentions about Juice Scruggs. Hasn't been in amazing shape either. Yeah, Scruggs got hurt his rookie year, came back, didn't play center. Scruggs started at center, got hurt. They had to put Patterson there. By the time they came back, they were more content with Patterson. And that was a big lightning storm. More content with Patterson. Scruggs played guard. Scruggs played another guard spot. And then when Scruggs was healthy and Shaq Mason was kind of healthy, they put Shaq Mason back in the lineup, which tells you all you need to know about Juice Scruggs. Again, Nick Caserio, last year, Juice Scruggs is a much better center than he is guard. And yet they went out there and played him at guard a bunch because he wasn't getting it done at center. So he's been a disappointment as well. And really, he's a player that's on a little bit of a hot seat because Jared Patterson's played better center than him on a more consistent basis. Patterson's got a significant injury history, though. He tried to play guard last year, got a concussion 2 years ago. He had a season-ending injury. So they haven't had a lot of consistency at center. And they were putting a lot on the center in the way Bobby Slowick's offense operated. It seems like Nick Caley is going to put a little bit more on C.J. Stroud. So maybe take something off the center. Maybe both these guys would be a little bit better. Less between the ears, more getting in front of the big uglies that are trying to get to C.J. Stroud. Will asks, do you think we keep 9 or 10 O-line on the roster, and who would those players be? Okay, let's go through them here. Today, if they had to play a game tomorrow, let's do the guess offensive line. It's 5 guys: Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson. Let's call it Jared Patterson. Let's call it Titus Howard. And let's call it Blake Fisher. So those 5. Then there would be Ursery. We know he's on the team. Juice Scruggs because of versatility inside. There's 7. You probably would want another tackle. Let's call it deculous because he doesn't have a serious knee injury that he's playing to try to come back from, like Trent Brown. And then you need one more. So that last spot, Eli Cox, the undrafted free agent center, Ladarius Henderson, the 6th-round pick from last year, James Andrews, the lineman from the New England Patriots that they picked up, who Cole Popovich previously coached at Troy. So that would be my 8 or 9 if I was trying to pick now. Obviously, I would tell you Scruggs doesn't have a guaranteed spot. Patterson doesn't have a guaranteed spot. And really, Laken Tomlinson and Ed Ingram don't have guaranteed spots either. I know they make a little bit of money, but the Texans ate $5 million on Noah Brown's contract last year like it was nothing. So, I mean, they could eat $4 million or 3 point whatever on Ed Ingram pretty easy. So, contracts, small contracts, they don't guarantee you crap on the Texans. And Isaiah mentions, some of the penalties are going to go down. You hope. I mean, it's not – look, Cam Robinson committed 11 penalties last year. Laramie Tunsil committed 19. And Cam Robinson allows more sacks. Like, what would you rather a guy commit more penalties or get more sacks? So there's a give and a take here with the Cam Robinson addition. And that's if Cam Robinson plays well and stays the left tackle. You might be starting a rookie left tackle at some point this year. Snow mentions Jake Andrews. I keep calling him James Andrews. James Andrews is the Tommy John doctor, I think. Jake Andrews. Is it Jake Andrews? Is it Jake Andrews or James Andrews? I think it's Jake Andrews. Yeah. Patriots played 30 snaps for them, and 2 years ago was hurt all last year. Jake Andrews, not James Andrews. Stingray Cody would be interested in getting a free agency running back. If so, who would you recommend? J.K. Dobbins is really the only free agent running back I'd be interested in. J.K. Dobbins, I would call the Giants and see if they'd trade you Devin Singletary. I'm trying to think about teams that maybe have guys on their depth chart that kind of got, pushed down because of draft picks. So I'd call about Devin Singletary at some point in training camp. Man, off the top of my head, I'm just trying to think about running backs across the league. Patriots, they drafted a guy. Cleveland drafted 2 guys. Chicago didn't draft early. Maybe Green Bay gets rid of a guy. You could be interested in that. Maybe Brian Robinson from the Commanders, the Commies. Maybe they'd be interested in moving him. I don't know. Let me see what teams drafted running backs. And just kind of there's nobody off the top of my head on the Raiders. No. Nobody on the Chargers. Nobody on the Broncos. Nobody on the Steelers. I guess maybe, ETN's not getting cut in Jacksonville. Yeah, I'd call the Giants, who had Tyrone Tracy play well last year and drafted Cam Scattaboo. I would call the Giants about Devin Singletary and just see if they're interested. Singletary, you told me that the running back room is Joe Mixon, Devin Singletary, Woody Marks, and let's call it Dameon Pierce. I'd feel a little bit better about that room. Yeah, trading for someone's number 2 or they're going to be number 3. Yeah, you could do something like that. I guess Gus Edwards would be fine free agency. Didn't he get hurt? You never know. Guys are free agents on May 20th for a reason. Toxic Monkey, what a name. If the DTs don't look like Pro Bowlers this year in training camp, I believe we'll have a medium line. The The DTs don't look like Pro Bowl. Okay, I see what you're saying. So the DTs don't look like Pro Bowlers this year in training camp. I believe we have a medium line. Hey, a little bit better, if because Foley Fatukasi and Mario Edwards looked like Aaron Donald and Casey Hampton out there in training camp last year. So it was not good. It's not good for the interior offensive line. James Andrews, Jordan Reed. Yeah, I get Jordan Reed and Justin Reed and Eric Reed mixed up. I got James Andrews and Jake Andrews mixed up. Yeah. Alejandro Mendoza Pacheco. Cody, you think the 49ers move off Christian McCaffrey? I don't. They made their bed with that thing, and they got a lie in it. No love for Nick Chubb, and Noah says Nick Chubb. I just don't believe there's anything left to Nick Chubb. I feel like there's a really good chance if Nick Chubb's your number 2, Joe Mixon goes down, then you're looking for number 3 to step up pretty soon after. I just don't believe in Nick Chubb anymore. Just coming off the injuries. He didn't look good coming back from the injury. Now, look, another year away from the injury. Maybe there's a little bit more there, but just don't think there's anything there. Well, good news here. Cam Akers is a free agent again. So if they wanted him, they could always go get Cam Akers, which I actually wouldn't hate. I know he doesn't maybe have as much experience with what Nick Haley's going to do on offense, but he's familiar. He knows his way around the building. He knows where to park and where the weight room is, where the cafeteria is, and he was better than the other guys that got to be running backs last year. Patrick says, "Go get him and trade him away again." Yeah, maybe. Tex Fanjoy hated Nick's response. They treated us like simpletons last year and doing it again. Can't take another season watching terrible line play with no acknowledgement of a problem from the team. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say they acknowledged it, they're changing it, but they have not done a bad job until that line plays bad. That's what I would say. Now, if we're sitting here 6 weeks in and DeMeco Ryans is like, well, look at the good plays the offensive line did. That's not going to be fun. That's not going to be fun. Won't like that at all. But their acknowledgement that wasn't good enough last year is the fact that they have a new offensive coordinator. They have a new promoted from within, but different. They have a different offensive line coach, a new offensive coordinator, and they swapped out. Potentially we'll have 5 new starters from last year's starting offensive line to this year's starting offensive line. Because last year, Laramie Tunsil, Kenyon Green, Juice Scruggs, Shaq Mason, and Titus Howard. Well, it could be Cam Robinson, Laken Tomlinson, Jarrett Patterson, Ed Ingram, and Blake Fisher. That'd be 5 new starters. So again, the acknowledgement of the problem is they change things. If they don't acknowledge that there's issues in the season, if they play poorly, that's where it will be annoying. Damon Smith, Cody, bro, you got to try the Cheesecake Factory. Their food is amazing and desserts are crazy good. The chicken Alfredo is phenomenal. I will have a Cheesecake Factory visit with Landry Locker in the near future. We'll go. I'll try something delicious. I'll try what he gets. And then I will and then I'll get a dessert. And hopefully he gets a different dessert and I can try his. Maybe he'll take me on a date to the Cheesecake Factory. Okay. Maybe he'll take me. You know what? I might turn this into a bit. I might reach out to the Cheesecake Factory and say, hey, I've never been. What do I do? What do I get? Can you throw me a coupon? You know? We'll talk about it on the channel. Noah asks, do we have a food review in plan? We have some food review plans on the horizon. I am still looking for the Pop-Tart ice cream sandwiches. They have been elusive as hell. I went to my local Walmart, sold out, not a box in sight. I even was looking behind other things. Couldn't find them. So Pop-Tart ice cream sandwiches is on the to-do list. Friday, the new Oreos, the chocolate-covered pretzel Oreos is the Friday food review. It is their brand new chocolate-covered pretzel Oreo. And here's the description. Take a delicious break with Oreo chocolate-covered pretzel sandwich cookies, a playful pretzel twist on America's favorite sandwich cookie. Savory and sweet treats that can pack a lunchbox snack, surprise loved ones. Let's see here. Limited edition Oreo cookies, chocolate-flavored cream filling between crispy pretzel-flavored sandwich cookies topped with a sprinkling of salt. I love pretzels and chocolate. So I'm very excited about this. So chocolate-covered pretzel Oreos is Friday. If I find the Pop-Tart ice cream sandwiches, I will put those in there as well. Do a little double up here. Spike my sugar. So those are on the horizon. Okay. I have a request for a wing joint down in Galveston. That's going to take some doing. I'm going to have a buddy come with me down near Galveston. I think it's in League City. I'm going to go check them out. Somebody here, actually it's you, Noah, asked, can you do your favorite barbecue spot in Houston? I'll do a barbecue spot review. My favorite's Truth. I don't think you need a Truth review. But for catching a bunch of different things, I got a couple of spots that you need to check out. So that's on the horizon. We'll have like a food review week here in the summer where we do a few different things. Dime asked, did you ever try Spindrift sparkling water? I tried one flavor. I tried the lemon one, and I'm not a huge lemon fan. I need to try something that's not lemon from Spindrift. Stingray says, thanks, Cody, for all the information on the Texans. Keep up the great work. Alejandro Mendoza Pacheco says cheesecake is overrated. Now, is that the factory or just cheesecake as a whole? Because I tend to agree with you a little bit on cheesecake. I do think cheesecake is pretty overrated for what it brings to the table. I'm not a big crust guy either. I love this. So we get a little food. We mix in some football as well. Added a ton of bodies on the O-line. New position coach, new OC. I want to be excited and optimistic, but damn, I need to see it. And that's fine. It's okay to be in the prove it territory. I just don't feel optimistic that they're going to prove all of us who are skeptical wrong. I need to find Busch Light apple. I have not had it yet. I need to find Busch Light apple. Nick says he appreciates the night stream. Oh, AJ from Connecticut wants to do a pizza food review. We'll make that happen, AJ. We'll make that happen. Cody Food Fest. I mean, could I ask for anything more? I'm actually trying right now. Right now, I'm trying to perfect a chicken Caesar wrap using a low-calorie tortilla, a lot of romaine, a couple of other veggies, grilled chicken instead of crispy chicken, low-calorie Caesar dressing, trying to punch that Caesar dressing up a little bit with some different things. I've tried some spicy stuff. I'm going to try to, they got a low-calorie Caesar dressing. Try to punch it up with some chipotles and adobo, really kind of pump that flavor up and just try to put it together. I don't believe there to be a great chicken Caesar wrap in our fine city. So I'm trying to create a really good one. And I may have, down the road, a chef buddy help me out on that. Rick says, Cody, I thought you were trying to lose weight. I am trying to lose weight. I am. And a couple of food reviews here or there. That's for me to figure out how to fit it all in from a calorie standpoint and a workout standpoint and taking care of business. So I am trying to lose weight. I have lost a little bit of weight. I'm going to continue to lose weight. And if you tune in every day, you're not going to see it. But if you don't tune in between now and, say, training camp, I would miss you. But if you show up at training camp, I'm going to look vastly different. I'm going to change how much I weigh. And it's not going to go up on the scale. It's going to go down on the scale. So certainly Landry Locker provides a lot of motivation, but I've proclaimed it now to you, the chat, and I don't want to lie to you. What kind of foods do you think our O-line likes to eat? There's some big boys on this crew, so, I guess the O-linemen love steakhouses. Did you hear them going about for O-lineman dinners? Steakhouses, okay? So, that's a tried and true O-lineman thing. Okay, I think that about do it here. A couple of things I got planned for this week. All right, a couple of things I got planned for this week that aren't food reviews. I got a couple of raffle items and a couple of giveaways, and we'll do them a couple of different ways. Maybe we'll do some trivia live. Maybe we'll do just a straight up raffle. Maybe we'll do a raffle that you need to enter. I don't know. We'll do something. But I got some stuff to give away, some food gift cards, some Texans gear. So be on the lookout for that this week and how you can go about getting those things. So that'll be maybe probably Thursday, sometime Friday, maybe. Just be on the lookout for that, and it'll carry over into next week as well. So I want to take care of the folks that are diehards and that are loyals here in May. So something here, something on the SNL channel as well. So just be on the lookout for some giveaway stuff. We're still figuring out exactly how to do the giveaways, but just be on the lookout for some giveaway stuff. So that we got the food reviews, got some fun content planned, got some fun SNL stuff planned as well. Always have a blast with Landry Locker. You can catch him tonight at 10:30. Who knows what he's going to get into? Nosh, what you gonna do, brother, when Stoots Mania runs wild on you? Then that's the Hogan. If you want the Macho Man, it's, what you gonna do, huh? What you gonna do when Stoots Mania, runs wild on you? Obviously, Hulkamania is a Hulk thing. Stoots Mania. Macho Man talked about Hulkamania. Hulkamania. With your jealous eyes, huh? Stoots, you're going to try to get that Seahawks trip going. Working on it. Yep. Going to try to have – here's my hope for the Seahawks thing. My hope is to find a discounted rate for Texans fans to all stay at the same hotel and us get together probably like Saturday night or Sunday night, watch Sunday Night Football. Texans play on Monday. So have some fun Sunday in Seattle, Sunday night, get together for like a big, maybe we're at a local bar, pub, or grill in Seattle, watch Sunday Night Football, hang out. We all stay at the same hotel. That's my hope. Fine-tuning, working, sending emails, trying to make it happen. So we'll see what we can do. But that's my plan for the Seahawks game. So, you don't like my WrestleMania, huh? HTV Traveler? Don't make me come to Austin, huh? I know where to drop the big elbow right on you. Hey, now you're talking, Patrick. Combo it. Go see her Saturday. Watch football Sunday. Watch football Monday night. Be great. All right. That'll do it for the stream tonight. Appreciate everybody jumping in. Appreciate the comments. Let's try something out. Here. This is a new feature. I need a couple of comments to pop up here. Yeah, there we go. This is a new feature on the back end of some of the software we use where we can put the comments on the screen. I don't know if I like the way it looks or not. Let's get a couple more comments in here. This is just flat out. We're just testing something here. Can someone put one of the member emojis in there and see if they show up? They show up as like the back end stuff. Okay, so they don't show up as the cool emojis. Dang it. All right, I'm still working through a way to put the chat on the screen in some way, shape, or form. That's a back-end roster thing. Software thing. It's a back-end software thing. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get the YouTube chat as is, as you see it, somewhere on the screen. Got to teach myself how to do it. Technological. So, all right. We in the live streams the same way each and every time. Again, thank you, everybody, for the comments, the questions, super chats. If you're a member to the channel, thank you so much for being a member to the channel. There's been some fun member perks coming over the summer, and certainly during the season. And again, your viewing experience is going to change. If you are not a member, it's just going to be enhanced if you decide to be a member. But really, this is some of the most fun I've ever had working. I have a blast doing this. I love doing SNL every day with Landry Locker, and I love talking football with you guys. From worrying about the offensive line to not worrying about the offensive line to figuring out if the running back depth is there to being pumped about Jaden Higgins and trying to draft him in every fantasy dynasty league that I'm starting up or playing in. I have a blast. It really is a lot of fun. And you guys and gals and folks make it possible, and I greatly appreciate it. And I will always be grateful for you allowing me to do this for what I do. So hope my gratitude never goes undisplayed. Waiting the live streams the same way each and every time. This is my hope for you. This is my charge for you as well. I want you to eat good. I want you to sleep good. I want you to be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hip-hoppity, dip-doppity-doo.